Thank you for tuning in to the MMA Roundtable. It's March 14th, 2013. It's Pi Day. We got a bunch to talk about. Obviously, we got a big card coming up. UFC 158, St-Pierre versus Diaz. Going to be a big shake-up in the welterweights as we have Condit and Hendricks going at it, along with Ellenberger and Marquardt. Looking forward to that. Not too much news other than UFC 158, so we'll be pretty heavy on that card. Let's do it. And like we mentioned, it is March 14th. Thank you so much for tuning in to the MMA Roundtable. We got myself and Chris from the MMA Podcast. We got Ray and Jay from MMA Mental. Ramsey's from the Word on the Street. We're all a big, happy family. This MMA Roundtable is every Thursday, 7 to 9 Eastern, 4 to 6 Pacific. As far as the UK goes, check Google and see when that equates, because daylight saving just messed us all up. Ray, MMA Mental, you're always doing huge interviews, doing big things. How's everything going over there with you guys?
Yeah, once again we've had some massive interviews this week, and we've got a couple more interviews booked tomorrow, which are pretty big as well. So look out for this week's podcast. Guests for this week confirmed: a top UK prospect, Jay Furness. He's 9-2. His 2 losses come to real, big names of sport. He's lost to Andy Ogle on the UK scene, which is big, and he lost to a guy called Freddie Asunciao, who just happens to be the brother of Junior and Rafael, so obviously a guy with pedigree. And other than that, he's dominating it on the UK, so he's one to look out for. Then we also spoke to a former Tough contestant who's headlining XFC in a couple of weeks, Shamar Bailey. I'm sure some of you remember Shamar from The Ultimate Fighter. And then we had our blockbuster interview. We got on the CCEO of Bellator. We spoke to Bjorn Rebney, had a half an hour chat with him. It was brilliant. Asked him about Eddie Alvarez, Paul Daly, Randy Couture, all the press issues, all the things people want to know about. We made sure we touched on that. And then I've also got a couple more interviews to do this week, which will also be on the show. I've got Brett Cooper, of course, who's one of the finalists for one of the Bellator tournaments. So again, that's going to be a good interview. And I've also got World Series of Fighting's Ray Sefo, obviously a legend, kickboxing legend, but of course he's winning World Series of Fighting now, so that's going to be a great interview as well. Yeah, so all in all, a good week for MMA Mental.
Brett Cooper, yeah, I think I've seen that guy before in Bellator. I think he knocked out a dude just last week, Dan Kramer, I think, looking really good. Looking forward to hearing that interview. If you aren't subscribed to him on iTunes, definitely check him out at MMAmental.com. Ramses, as always, what's the word on the street? You were breaking big news on the tough recap episode on Tuesday. I'll let you take it away and talk about word on the street. Talk about the news you broke. What's going on over there?
Yeah, listen, the Word on the Street podcast usually goes down every Tuesday with the coach from Team Sonnen himself, Coach Jamie, the Living Legend Huey. This past Tuesday, he just related a little story about how while filming Tough, John Jones approached him and tried to buy him off, tried to get him to stab Chell in the back, leave his team, join Team Jones, become a new boxing coach for the champion. He offered to double Chell's pay. It was ridiculous. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'm still shaking. I'm still sick to my stomach with that news. But yeah, that's just one of many breaking stories that I got ready for you in my back pocket. So if you're about to kill yourself, you get that you're just no reason to live. You follow me on Twitter, the Ant Jimmy Show on Twitter, and I will give you a reason to live, and that is the word on the street.
Word on the street. If you're tired of not being able to get it up, if you're just blasting off way too early, listen to Word on the Street. Subscribe to the Aunt Jimmy Show. All your problems will be solved. And to wrap up the plugs, Jay, you're kind of the unofficial ambassador of the MMA Playground, so go ahead and plug that before we get into the meat of the show.
Well, if you like being an absolute nutcase and, unlike the word on the street, if you don't want your head to be sorted out, I advise you go over to the MMAplayground.com. Get your ass on the forums. We got a bit crazy at times, but whatever. We're loving life. There's an event, of course. There's the UFC this weekend. So if you want to try and get your picks in, if you think you're better than us at picking fighters, get your ass on the playground, get picking, and just see if you can beat us, guys. It's great over there.
You'll probably be able to beat me. I'm horrible at picking events, but see if you can beat Jay. See if you can beat Ray. See if we can get Chris and Ramses to join the playground. It'll be a good time. And my own podcast, the MMA Podcast. That's every Friday, 9 to 11 Eastern, 6 to 8 Pacific. We had a up and coming guy on last night. Usually we have more well known UFC level fighters, but we had a guy who's pretty early on in his career, and it was fun talking to him. He trains with Chad George, who, if you haven't seen that Occupation Fighter documentary yet on Netflix, definitely check that out because that's good stuff. All right, so the MMA Roundtable, let's get to it. If you want to tweet into the show, tweet us at MMA Mental or at the MMA Podcast, and we'll read your tweet on the air. I guess really quickly before we talk about this craziness, Nick Diaz falling into his own ways of missing events. He missed that open workout. Made the press conference today. That was pretty interesting. We'll talk about that. But how is everyone doing, Chris?
Doing excellent, man. It's a lovely day. No work today, and just looking forward to chatting it up with you fellas.
I'm good. I had a great week this weekend. I went to Bama, and everything's going great this week for once. So I'm quite happy, and I'm glad to be here.
I'm having a pretty good day, except for some reason I seem to have caught some sort of pink eye, man. And that's ridiculous because I wash my hands at least 100 times a day after every single exchange and anything I touch. So I don't know where this came from, man. I'm perplexed. It's a conspiracy.
I've had a good week. I managed to give somebody pink eye this week, which was pretty good. I managed to get some germs in there. On a plus note, I got a media pass this week, again, as they say. So I'm going to Stockholm, UFC on Fuel TV, Gustafsson versus Masasi. I'll be K-side, so I'm sure I'll make the most of that. I'll make sure Ramses has still got his pink eye, and I'll be away.
Definitely. I'm doing fine as well. Let's get into it. Nick Diaz misses his open workout. Dana not happy at all. He went on the Jim Rome show yesterday saying that if Diaz misses the press conference, weigh-in, anything like that, he'll probably be punished severely. And I think most everyone interpreted that as being pulled from the card. He came into UFC 158 with this new attitude. He seemed like he was ready to go with whatever the UFC wanted him to do, and now he's just going back to his old ways of missing stuff. I really can't logically think of a reason why he would miss the open workouts after missing an event in the past has lost him the same exact title shot. What is going on with Diaz, and why is he seemingly unable to comply with pretty simple stuff?
I have no idea. I managed to check out the pre-fight press conference. I'm sure you guys did as well, but he was banging on about that he will be there. He will be there for the weigh-ins and he'll be there for the fight. He was saying some things about if he went to the open workouts, he would have only got 2 hours sleep, but otherwise he would have got 4.5 hours sleep. And I was just thinking, why? What are you going to do 2.5 hours later? I don't know what's going on in his head, but it's going to be interesting if he does win. I'm sure we'll go on to, who will win and all that later, but it would be interesting to see how Dana reacts if Diaz took that belt.
I'm going to take Nick Diaz at his damn word here. He says the UFC fucked him a little bit by scheduling him on a late plane flight, which was at midnight or something. And then they wanted him to work out first thing in the morning. I think it was staged, man. I think the UFC wanted him to miss that workout just to create some ripples here, a little story, build a little buzz for the fight, sell a little bit more wolf tickets. That's the word on the street.
I just think it's part of his persona, isn't it? I mean, Dana White really can't moan about it too much because we knew what he was like when he skipped the press conference last time he was supposed to fight GSP. So this is Diaz doing what Diaz does, and at the end of the day, it's just the way he is. And he's going to come out there and he's going to fight. It'll be an entertaining fight. He's gone on a bit of a rant, hasn't he, Dana, saying if he does this, he's going to cut him. If he does that, he's going to cut him. So we'll see what happens. I think Diaz is putting his head on the chopping block, and if he comes out and performs poorly, or if he fails another marijuana test, then I think we could see him out of the UFC.
Yeah, man. At this point, it's a broken record with this guy. He obviously has no initiative to follow through with his duties, which I'm sure he signed in a contract. UFC wouldn't have a contract signed by an athlete without these kind of things. So he agreed legally to do these things. He's not doing it. And I think Dana White and company are being very lenient with the guy. I mean, he has a history of just not following up like a grappling match he was supposed to do with Braulio Estema. Didn't even show up for that thing, and that was for charity. So if he ain't going to do it for charity, then obviously he has no intentions of doing it for a fight. And I don't really care what the excuses are, man. Here in the premier MMA organization in the world, you should follow through with your commitments.
Yeah, and as far as Diaz, we weren't expecting him to miss another event, but one thing we were expecting was that really captivating personality. It's very weird. He at times seems very angry. At other times, he just seems upset. It's hard to gauge his thoughts and emotions a lot of the time. I know most of you by now have probably heard both the conference call and the press conference. I heard the press conference, or I heard the conference call in the first 10 minutes of the press conference, and there were a lot of interesting quotes. Diaz had that funny story about a soccer mom in Lodi saying she hoped GSP whooped him. Saying stuff at the press conference like, yeah, George wants to make me sound like I'm a bully, but he's never had a gun held to his head or his chest or his friend's chest blown out. And just very, it's hard really to gauge what what he's really getting at exactly. But before we move on to that tough episode 8 review. Sort of how are you, gauging Diaz's emotions during this press conference phase of the fight? It's kind of interesting. This is the most interesting build-up to a fight, I think, since Silva Sonnen 2, which was, I think, 10 fights ago. That was UFC 148. This is 158. Jay? You with us, Jay?
Yeah, I am. Sorry. I think... I don't really know what's going on with the whole situation. So I guess I'll leave it up to you guys. I'll try and catch up. I haven't quite given it enough thought yet. I mean, we've got some time to think about it, so give me a minute.
Yeah, and it's hard, I'd say it was kind of a vague question, but is it a show? Is this real emotion? You really can't gauge it out of GSP's camp because GSP and Faraz is a hobby, and the UFC brass are all saying GSP's never been this angry. Well, his coach John Danaher is in an interview with Ariel Helwani being like, yeah, he isn't upset at all. So it's hard to really gauge. But do you think this anger with Diaz is going to come out focused in Saturday's fight and be an advantage? Is it going to be a disadvantage? There's so many different kind of ways to think about it. But I guess I'll kind of focus it into that. All of this anger, obviously some of it is from his own past. Some of it is because GSP has said things like, "You uneducated the fool." But yeah, this anger, is it going to be more in Nick's favor? George is really probably one of the most intelligent fighters, probably the last guy that would be able to be fucked with by Diaz. But is Diaz going to have the advantage? Because all this anger. Ramses, what are you thinking?
Man, the build up to UFC 158 has been one of the damnedest things I've ever seen. It's just been really fucking weird how this fight has been just promoting itself just by accident, mostly due to Nick Diaz just being a fucking, there's something wrong with this guy, man. But it's very entertaining. He's perplexing. I mean, half the time you're feeling what he's saying, but if you really just to slow down the tape, he's not making any fucking sense at all. But the fact that he has done a good job promoting this fight, I have to say, it's been really interesting. A lot of people have now are, a lot of people that weren't going to buy it, they're going to buy it now because of everything that's happened the past 2 weeks or whatever. But Nick Diaz really needs to work on cutting a promo because he cuts a promo good, but it's just really long all over the place, man. He needs to fucking just condense it into some kind of tweet fashion from now on, man. But yeah, good build up to the fight so far. I think it's real what we're seeing. But I don't think they actually, either one of them doesn't hate the other. But the build up has been fun, and for that reason alone, I believe that they'll go into this fight bringing something into it, but it won't be hate.
I'm going to be a Ramses here. I'm going to be a conspiracy theorist, which isn't like me, obviously. But for me, I mean, don't get me wrong, the build-up's been brilliant, but it is what it is. It's a build-up. That's all it is. There's no bad feelings between the two of them. It's two guys who are trying to promote a fight. Nick Diaz brings the best out of people when it comes to promoting because he's such an antagonist. He's great at winding people up. And I'm sure the GSP is getting wound up by it, but it's not going to affect what he does on the day because GSP is one of these, he's like a purebred athlete. He comes in ready, no matter who he's fighting, no matter what the build-up is. And again, I don't imagine him being angry. I imagine him sitting there in his gym laughing about all of this with his coaches, and they're just hammering it all up because this is what people want to hear. I think that the missing stuff, like missing the media train out and stuff, I don't think that's all scripted. I think Diaz was supposed to be there, but he just can't be bothered, so he blows it off, and he knows there's not going to be much repercussion because at the end of the day, let's be fair, this pay-per-view is being sold because of what Nick Diaz is doing, not because of what anybody else is doing. And Dana White knows that. Dana White's not stupid. Look at Chael Sonnen. And again, I mean, no disrespect to Ramses, because I know he's a huge Chael Sonnen fan. And Chael Sonnen is a great, great fighter. But I've said this before. I remember when Chael Sonnen was the middle-of-the-road fighter, and he was getting submitted by everyone left, right and centre. But then what Sonnen could do that not many other people could do, and Nick Diaz could do this as well, is he can get on a mic and he can talk almost pro wrestling style, and that is what's selling. That's what sold Sonnen and Silva 1, and of course their fight was epic. But let's be honest, Sonnen and Silva 2 wasn't a good fight. I mean, Sonnen was never in that fight. The second round, it was over so quickly and so suddenly in such a dubious way. But the build-up was amazing. But the build-up was amazing. But yeah, Diaz is brilliant at what he does, don't get me wrong. But for me, this is all part of the build-up. And at the end of it, when they're fought, and when GSP has beat him up for 5 rounds, and Diaz has had a few good moments but lost by decision, they'll shake hands, they'll go their separate way, and we won't hear about it again.
Chris?
I'm sorry, what was the question? There was a lot of talking. I thought we were talking about the build-up to the show.
No, just is, this whole, it's hard to gauge GSP. You don't know if he is upset or isn't upset, because he's going to lie and say he is upset to build up the fight. I don't think he really is. But on the Diaz side, you can tell Diaz is more perturbed than usual going into it. He's never been talking about guys holding guns to his head. So he's, GSP's saying he's in a dark place. If anyone's in a dark place, it's goddamn Nick Diaz. Is that anger on his side going to lead to a more focused Diaz, or is it going to hurt him?
Shit, I don't know. That's a great question. All I know is that, why he's this mad. My money's on the pressure, man. I mean, if he couldn't show up for a charity grappling event, because of anxiety or problems, then, he's not showing up for obligations for this. He seems, like you said, just pretty angry and open. He's opening himself up, and I think that's better than him being a robot. Do I think it's going to affect his performance on fight night? I don't think so. I mean, he gets into the zone. Every time Diaz steps into that cage, he looks fantastic. I mean, against Carlos Condit, not so much, but that was also a somewhat close fight. So I think on fight night, I don't think any of that's going to matter, and can't wait to see it.
For sure, and we will break down 6 of those UFC 158 fights at the end of the show. But first, before we get to Guess That Tweet, one of the few non-UFC 158 news items we have to go over is TUF Episode 8. It was the last of the preliminary fights. The wild card fight was set as well. You had a coach's challenge. First, I guess I'll start off with that last prelim fight. You had Dylan Andrews, the Australian, defeat Team Sonnen's Zach Cummings, which I believe made it 4-3 with the advantage going to Team Sonnen in those 7 fights. And now there's going to be a wild card fight between John Jones's Bubba McDaniel and Team Sonnen's Kevin Casey. That's definitely going to be an interesting fight. I guess we can talk about all 3 of those things in order. We'll start off with that Dylan Andrews Cummings fight. I was kind of bummed out. That was a fight. I was actually hanging out with my dad, who doesn't watch much MMA, and I was like, yeah, you should watch The Ultimate Fighter and watch this fight. It was somewhat of a snoozer. What did you guys think of Andrews versus Cummings, the build up to it, and all that?
It was a painful episode to watch. I mean, it started off all right, with Chill versus whatever the fuck that other guy's name is in the coach's challenge there with the
Ron
tractors
Jones.
and whatnot. Yeah.
And we will talk about the coach's challenge in a second too, so don't talk about that yet.
Okay. Well, as far as the fight goes, it was very disappointing to watch. I thought we'd see a little bit more out of Zach, but he did nail Dylan a couple times. He was close to clocking him right there in the opening, but yeah, that was some sad shit to see. And you let me know when I can spoil something about next week's show that pretty much most people know. It has to do with the fight, though, man. But it's already out there. I blame the tough editors for making the mistake of releasing a spoiler, if you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but I'll pass it off to Jay Ramses and Chris to talk about that Cummings-Andrews fight, if you did catch it.
Yeah, it's on me now. It wasn't a strange fight, because like most, and I think all the people I've been interacting with in the build-up to the show, we all thought that Zach Cummings was going to win the fight. He's probably going into the house. He's the one whose name I knew. I'd heard the name before from the rankings and whatever. Obviously, he had a very, very quick win. We knew Dylan was tough, but I thought Zach would be too much. I actually scored the fight 19-all, because in that first round, Zach had the first 3 minutes of that first round, where Dylan had the last 2, but of course he finished the round on top. 2 judges gave it to him, where 1 gave it to Zach. I personally would have given it to Zach. That's just my opinion. But of course, the second round was all Dylan. I mean, he took it right from the off and dominated it for 5 minutes. But for me, I know the fight weren't great, but for me it was 19-all, and I personally think there should have been a third round. But that's just what I think.
My connection kind of cut in and out. My legal connection on the internet, obviously, somehow streaming, was cutting in and out. I didn't catch the first part of the episode leading up to the fight. I caught a little bit of the fight, and I caught some of the recap, and it looked like Andrews, is that his name? I believe the other dude. That guy?
Dylan Andrews, correct.
Yes. Okay, so I believe Andrews kind of turned it on in that second round. As far as the episode itself, considering my viewing experience wasn't that great, I don't have much to add to that. So, yeah.
The fight was interesting, and all of a sudden we realised that Zach has absolutely no ground game. Dylan exposed that. Maybe it's just me, but I view Dylan as just a mini James Tahuna. He kind of, his persona, he's got good stand-up. If things get bad, he'll take you down. If he kind of looks a little bit like him with the tan and things like that. So I just call him mini James Tahuna. I personally did score at 2018, but I could understand Ray's scoring of 1919. I could understand the majority decision. But the fight was what it is. I thought the episode was good. I didn't think it was awful. But yeah, Dylan won't, and I am gutted as well at the result of next week's show as well.
Yep, and
right, before we go on, I don't know about this next week thing, so can I ask, please, not to be told, because I don't want to know.
No, it's I don't know, it's nothing crazy, and it's not really, it's not a spoiler necessarily of what's going to happen next week. It's just a spoiler of something.
Fight, is it?
No, it's something we know is going to happen eventually. It's we found out the the unfortunate fate of a cast member. I won't go any further than
I
that.
know what it is now. I know what it is now.
Yeah. I saw Ramses actually talking about it on Twitter a month or two ago. We will talk about that after we talk about the coach's challenge. And I don't really want to have a discussion about it. It was pretty cut and dry. It was actually pretty entertaining. And Coach Jamie Huey came on the Tough Recap Word on the Street podcast with Ramses, and said that even though it seemed scripted, that Sonnen starts on this huge lead and then Jones comes back and he's way ahead and all he has to do is this one thing to win and he fucks it up and Sonnen comes and wins it at the last. It apparently really went down like that. I don't want to talk about the actual challenge. I want to talk about why Jon Jones was behind the wheel of a giant crane. You think he had to blow into a state-mandated breathalyzer before doing so? Was an attorney present? Were cops present? Did he drive into a tree at any point and it was edited out? Should Jon Jones have been allowed to operate heavy machinery around all those innocent people?
No, he should not have, and I am currently trying to file for a citizen's arrest or some action to be taken so that Jon Jones can be reprimanded into custody for violating his parole. He is not allowed to operate a motor vehicle. He definitely was not allowed to at the time of filming. It's all documented, it's all on proof, and I don't see them getting a waiver. They didn't present that in the show. So what we need to do is just make sure that Jon Jones learns his lesson. You can't just violate parole because you're the champion of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. You can't do it, John. I'm sorry. So yeah, he should be arrested. I am publicly calling for the arrest of Jonathan Dwight Jones. Let's do this, guys. Word on the street. And also, I just wanted to mention to Chris and anybody that doesn't have FX or whatever, you can watch The Ultimate Fighter on Hulu.com for free as it airs, live as it airs. So there you go. That's the word.
Oh, thank you.
Bam. And before Ray takes over really quick, I do agree. Wow, I was about to make a point. Oh, yeah. So if you arrest Jones, do you want him arrested before or after the fight? If he is arrested after, he can lose, and then I guess let his face welts heal while he's in jail, I'm assuming, right?
Look, one way or another, Jon Jones belongs in a cage. It's either going to be Chael Sonnen or it's going to be some dude fighting for a bologna sandwich, all right? John's probably going to go for the jail, so let's let him fight Chael, and then he'll have to answer for operating that crane or whatever the fuck that was.
You could have taken a racist angle with it, but you didn't, and I like you for it. Ray, what do you think? Should Jones have been driving around in heavy machinery?
My question for Ramses is, should Jon Jones fight jail or should he be sent to jail?
Good one. Ray Thompson with the humor.
I'm on fire today. I don't know what the laws are in the state, so whether it's different because it's in a safe, what would seem as a safe environment. Obviously, he's not allowed to operate on a road because of is it a DUI he got? I'm guessing that's what it is. So I don't know what the laws are in the US. And also, from what I gather, depending on where you go, it's different laws. I mean, you can commit murder in one state, you get a slap on the wrist. You commit it 10 miles and you're in another state, you get the death penalty. So I don't know what the rules are from one state to the other. So I can't answer, I'm afraid.
If it was illegal, do you really think that Zuffa, LLC, Incorporated, whatever the hell they are, would allow that to happen? Dana wouldn't allow it to happen. It happened because nothing wrong took place. They checked into the legality. They have a team of lawyers, and I'm not going to touch a black man belonging in a cage.
It was probably private property. Yeah, it's probably private property. However, it is a good joke. Fair play. Whoever came up with that one, probably you, Jake.
Probably. I did notice there was a little sign there. I was like, dig Las Vegas or something. It was some little tourist attraction thing. It wasn't like they were actually at some new site where they were going to be building shit. But the final thing I want to talk about, Tough, gets to that wild card fight. It was funny seeing Jon Jones pretend like he was thinking about picking someone other than his teammate Bubba Daniel. I forget who it was, but they actually said that Jones had stated the previous day that he was going to pick Bubba, so it wasn't much of a surprise to anyone. And after he pretended like it was a hard choice so Clint wouldn't be mad, he did pick Bubba McDaniels, who will be taking on Kevin Casey, who got the pick above Zach Cummings, which I like both of those picks. I think Bubba and Kevin Casey are the better fighters. Bubba's a lot more experienced than Clint Hester, and Kevin Casey looked better in his loss than Zach, who, after being on top for the first three minutes and busting open the head of Dylan Andrews, just couldn't do anything. But I guess, Ramses, if you want to take it away with your spoiler action, it's got to deal with one of the two fighters fighting in next week's wildcard fight.
Yeah, I've got to say, and anybody that doesn't want to hear a potential spoiler, it's not 100%, but, doesn't. I'll just say this, guys. It does not look good for Team Sonnen's Kevin Casey next Tuesday, I've got to say, based on information that has been presented on the internet and such. I'm just, I think even Coach Jamie the Living Legend Huey even made an appearance in this spoiler that was released. Basically, when you cut a promo showing one thing that happens later on in the season, but it's an earlier episode that you're promoting, people, I guess maybe they weren't thinking that the fans out there were going to go CSI on this motherfucker, but they did. Let's just say it does not look good for Mr. Kevin Casey. And that's pretty sad to me because, I am Team Sonnen all the way. But I'm going to stay away from betting on this fight that already happened, for the reason that, one, it would be ridiculous. And second, it was kind of spoiled already, unfortunately. There was something else I was going to try to say, but it's escaping me right now, so I'll pass it on.
Yeah, what Ramses is getting to specifically, earlier on, they were saying this season on The Ultimate Fighter, and they show a bunch of crazy scenes, probably 30 scenes all spliced into like 15 seconds. One of the very short scenes they showed that was on the screen for maybe half a second was a black guy getting put into an ambulance, and when you pause it, that black guy looks a lot like Kevin Casey and nothing at all like any of the other black guys in the house. So whether it's going to be in the wild card fight or the quarterfinals or even the semifinals, it's looking like Kevin Casey is going to be leaving in the ambulance before the finals come around. Ray, I'll pass it on to you.
Yeah, I remember seeing it now because everyone they were trying to make out it looked like it was Adam Seller that knocked out Uriah Hall, and of course it wasn't, but it looked like it was Kevin Casey, didn't it? Obviously, there's no clarification for which fight it's from, but also they said there's a shocking finish to the fight or something as well this week.
Yep.
So that would
next week you see one of the more shocking finishes in tough history.
But I'm just going to give my views on the matchup. Personally, when they looked at the two wildcard fights, my two thoughts were the other two that didn't get picked. Basically, I wanted to see Clinton Hester come back. For me, it shouldn't be based on how hard they've worked to get to the house and all that bullshit. It should be based on what they've shown in their fights. And Clint Hester's fight, he was really against Jimmy Quinlan, was a really, really good fight. He was back and forth. He threw so many strikes in that first round, and even though he got slammed so many times, people still think they could put a case forward for him winning that round because of the amount of strikes he threw from every angle. Bubba McDaniels was a pile of pants. Let's be honest with you, he was awful. He went out there thinking he was great, and he was shit. And he got submitted. I mean, the look on his face when he was getting choked was brilliant, because it was just like he was being brought back down to earth because he's been so arrogant. And then you had King Casey. King of what? I mean, he was awful as well. This BJJ expert, trained with the Gracies. It was like a Mr. Miyagi story, but he was absolutely awful. He just had nothing, absolutely nothing. And again, Zach, I personally thought Zach did better in his fight than what King Casey did in his fight. So they would have been my two choices personally. But as for the fight next week, obviously we've got this, what we think is a spoiler, but who's not rooting for King Casey just to shut up Bubba McDaniels after the way he's been and the way he called him out in the house? And, forget the whole Jones and Sonnen thing. I'd just like to see Bubba put in his place again, because that look on his face when he was getting choked was fantastic. I want to see it again.
Before Chris takes over, Ray, did you just call Bubba McDaniel a pile of pants?
Quite possibly.
A pile of pants. All right, Chris, take it away.
Yeah, man, I'm not really too into the show as you guys are. I've somewhat followed it. So as far as Bubba and Kevin Casey has always been garbage. I mean, the guy walked into a Strikeforce fight against Matt Lindland with a team of his buddies, like rapping and like, pumping him up, and then, he's making all these faces. I can't stand the guy. He's garbage, and I think that his only chance of winning this fight is takedown and holding, whereas Bubba, I think, has a lot more tools, even if I don't think Bubba's that good. So I got Bubba in this one. One thing I wanted to mention real quick before we move on is the fact of if a coach has someone that's on the season that they train with, there has to be some way where someone else gets an even shot. I mean, maybe the entire team votes, including the coaching staff, or maybe some kind of challenge, but it's goddamn ridiculous that, you train with one of the coaches and, you just end up getting that wild card shot. I think that's bullshit, and there's got to be something to change that.
Well, first of all, I think that Colin Hart's going to fight Uriah Hall later on in the season. So I want to see Bubba McDaniels get knocked out by Uriah Hall, but it doesn't look like Bubba's going to get any further after he beats Kevin Casey, because I really don't think he's got the skills. As for who I'd pick, I think the two most likely to go furthest on the show would have been Bubba McDaniels and Clint Hester, because I know that Zach Cummings, he had a fight and he did almost win that first round, but really he offered nothing from his back. I just can't see how that would improve. And Bubba McDaniels was awful. He didn't hold position at all. But it made for a more entertaining fight. I think that Dana White was very weird with that pick, but it does make the season more interesting. However, I absolutely hate it. It made me hate Jones even more when he picked his friend over somebody who probably has more potential and looked better. But it is what it is, and there is going to be the shocking finish. And I remember on the MMA memes when we first had the picture put out, I put down all the black guys next to each other, and then I asked the question who it is, and everybody was unanimous. It's clearly Kevin Casey. And then people also commented on me being racist. Like, if anybody thought that was a white guy in the back of a van, you got issues. But anyway, it's just my thoughts.
Jay, if you call a black guy black, you're obviously a racist, and there's nothing worse than that.
Well, it wasn't even that. It was just that I just put a black guy in a van I should say not a van. I should say ambulance. Black guy you shouldn't even say.
You shouldn't even say the word black, man. That's racist. You shouldn't say the word color or the words of any colors, because that shit is racist.
Just call them Django's.
Just call them a bunch of Django's. I was about to go real deep, but I'm glad I didn't. Chris, I'm glad you piped up. You're hosting Guess That Tweet this week. Glorious return to hosting, and I guess without any further ado, it's all yours, man.
All right, fellas. Are you prepared? Are you ready? Here we go. Oh, good. All right. Tweet number 1. Leaders lead from the front. Start by being great today so it's easier to be great every day after. Hashtag UFC. Hashtag Fox. Hashtag HP. Hashtag HP Pavilion. Hashtag Be Great. So pretty much a douchey tweet. And your options are Josh Thompson, Jorge Masvidal, Clifford Starks, and Ramsey Ninjum.
Sorry, when you read the tweet out, I had a name in mind straight away, and when it said UFC, I was lost. I've got the last name. Can you read the other 3 names, please?
Sure. So it's I'll just read them all. Josh Thompson, Jorge Masvidal, Clifford Starks, and Ramsey Ninjum.
I'm going to go for Jorge Masvidal.
I'll go with Clifford Starks. Never heard of him.
I will go with Jorge Masvidal.
Man, the only one out of those who you'd probably even want to follow is Josh Thompson, so I'll go with him.
Ramsey, just to let you know, Clifford Starks is a singer. That was a joke that he was in there, so good guess.
Holy fuck.
I'm only joking.
Yeah, he's a
son
black
of a bitch.
No.
Who is Clifford Starks?
All right, sorry about that, guys. I had a police action going on. John Jones must be behind the wheel again. Sorry about that, guys. Here we go. All right, so it was not Ramsey Ninja. It was not Jorge Masvidal.
Fuck you.
And it was not... Fuck you, too. And it was not Clifford Starks. It was Josh Thompson. Congratulations, Jay.
Cheers, man. Cheers, man.
He is going to get second place once again.
Of course, there's no chance.
Yeah, I'm prepared for it. I'm prepared for it.
All right, number 2. Life is just what you make it. Life is just what you want it to be. Live, love, and learn. Believe in yourself. Stay positive and focused.
That sounds like a chick's tweet so hard.
Okay, and your options are John Jones, Hector Lombard, Josh Koscheck, and Julie Kedzie.
God, you do. How do you even read these tweets? The only one out of that list who I think posts motivational tweets, although it probably is going to be a girl, I'm going to say Josh Koscheck, man.
I interrupted saying it sounds like a girl, so I gotta go with the girl, Julie Kedzie.
That's the worst fucking tweet I've ever heard. Holy fuck. I'm sorry, that tweet was so lame. Can we just so I can make sure that I'm hearing it right, can you repeat it?
No problem.
Please?
Yeah, and I'm gonna read it like Julie Kedzie would. Life is what you make it. Life is just what you want it to be. Live, love, and learn. Believe in yourself. Stay positive and focused.
Wow. You know what? I'm gonna go with John
Josh
Jones.
Koscheck.
I'm going with John Jones.
Was Ramsey's an option in that one? I thought that was one of Ramsey's tweets.
Oh, fuck.
It doesn't say anything about Dark Side.
I have never tweeted anything positive in my entire life.
Well, what were the 4 options? Julie Kedzie, John Jones, Josh Koscheck,
And Hector Lombardio.
It is an absolute crap tweet, to be fair, and it's embarrassing that someone has tweeted it out. I've read some of Koscheck's tweets; they're pretty awful. Let's go for Josh Koscheck.
All right. It was not John Jones. It was not Hector Lombard. And it was not Julie Kedzie. It was Josh Koscheck.
The Brits, the European invasion, you smelly old British fucks.
I call a word. Black Hawk helicopter.
Because it's an hour earlier for us, we're still awake.
Oh,
Yep.
snap.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Okay.
And you don't have fluoride in your water making you retarded.
True
Yep.
story, bro.
They don't have water there. All right, number 3. Judges are retarded. Hendo all the way. So this is going all the way back to UFC 157. Judges are retarded. Hendo all the way. And your options are Tarek Safadine, Luke Rockhold, Sokaju. I don't know how to pronounce I don't even want to do that. Sokaju or Todd Duffy.
What were the first 2 names again? Tarek Safadine and...
Okay, Tarek Safadine, Luke Rockhold, Sokaju, and Todd Duffy.
Let's go for Luke Rockhold.
I gotta agree with Ray. I'm also feeling the Luke Rockhold.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and add on to the coattailing. The Brits are doing it the right way, so we may as well just follow by example.
If I pick Luke Rockhold, then it would just make sense in case anybody else gets it right. So I'm going to go with Luke Rockhold as well.
And it was not Todd Duffy, not Safadine, and sure as hell wasn't Sokaju. Luke Rockhold.
Too easy.
Whatever, that wasn't easy. What the fuck? All right,
Cheers, guys.
Okay, so we have Jay with 3, Ramsey with 1, Ray with 2, and Jake with 1. MMA podcast coming in pretty weak. All right, number 4. Definitely going to miss the Strikeforce blue and red gloves, but looking forward to putting on the black UFC. And your options are KJ Noons, Billy Evangelista, Bobby Volker, and Roger Bowling.
Who the hell is Roger Bowling? Is he even a strike? I'm going to go with Roger Bowling, but is he even a strike force fighter?
Roger Bowling's an ice dancer.
He's Clifford.
Okay, well,
he's a bowler.
Clifford Stark's
I'm going to
older
go with
brother.
Roger Bowling.
Roger Bowling and Bobby Volker fought each other 3 times, twice in Strikeforce Challengers, once in Strikeforce.
Is he fighting on this card? I've never heard of him. I'll go with him, but I've never heard of this guy. Like, what the hell?
I'll keep coattailing with these Buttertooth Brits, and I'll go with Roger Bowling.
No, I'll go with a fucking KJ Noons.
KJ Noons likes to strike. I'm going KJ Noons as well.
It was not Bobby Volker. It was not Billy Evangelista. And it was not KJ Noons. It was Roger Bowling. So
Jesus Christ, Jay.
Yeah, 4 points for Jay. I mean, this is all just,
I think Jay locked it up, yeah. You want to do the last 2 rounds for the shit of it?
I want to.
Let's do it.
All right. A wise woman told me that good things happen to those that wait. So I'll train and wait to see what God has for me. Just so freaking pumped about the UFC. And your options are Diego Sanchez, Michael McDonald, Tyrone Woodley, and Mark Munoz.
I'll go for Mayday.
Woodley.
Jay's lost connections.
I'll go with Nick Diaz.
Impossible. Jay, are you there? Nothing from Jay?
Gone. He's put his connections
Okay.
off.
Jay's dead.
It was Woodley, so, we get a...
No, Jay forfeited. So
Jay,
this thing is still on.
Is this a technical forfeit? No, I wouldn't do,
Okay, we're
do
going to
that
do this
to
last
him.
one, because I like this last one. Let's see how you guys do.
Let's not
Okay.
do the last one. Let's move on.
All right, so we're doing this last
Okay.
one. Not a fighter, an adventurer. I don't attack, I engage. I don't defend, I expand. I don't destroy, I transform. I don't reject, I explore. And your options are
Dora the Explorer.
Enzo Gracie, Hoist Gracie, Kron Gracie, Rose Gracie, Roger Gracie, and Hickson Gracie.
I pick Gracie.
Sakuraba.
God
No,
damn it.
I pick Henzo because
Sakuraba beat all of them.
I pick Henzo because he tweets like every 6 seconds.
I'll pick Henzo as well, just because Jake did.
Ramses?
Was Helio an option?
Nope.
Is he the only one that's dead?
Oh shit!
He's
Yeah, you're right.
tweeting from beyond the grave.
Obligato!
You're right. He is dead. I've embarrassed myself. I will go with the female Gracie.
I'll go to the one that begins with R.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so there's 4 of them. 5!
I'm going with the one that starts with R, but
Get it wrong.
I'm going with the one that starts with R but is pronounced like an H.
Okay.
Hose.
So it was Henzo. Pat yourself on the backs. Jay's the winner. Congratulations, Jay. If you declare me the actual winner of this, stay silent. Thank you, and I won this round.
Invite Jay back in.
Yeah, it looks like he's back.
Oh, sorry, I did not realize I was muted. Before we invite Jay back, we are going to trick him into thinking that he got disqualified for leaving the call.
Word.
So I am adding him back. And that is the end to Guess That Tweet. Let's see if Jay gets back on the line while I'm in this long monotone talking. Stretching myself off for no reason. There he is. Jay, you back?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry.
Thank you for coming back. We will get back to it. Chris ended up being Ray ended up being the champ of Guess That Tweet because you left. You were disqualified, and Ray ended up getting it in overtime.
You're
another.
mate. You're the bride again. You're the bridesmaid again. You were so close.
Ray,
you got
You
minus points
you
for
forfeited.
last 2 for not picking rounds. If
You're the
housemate
Uriah
had
Faber of the
picked
Twitter
you,
game.
You'd have won. Your housemate shafted you.
This is pathetic, right? I just want to say something.
Your housemate to disconnect the internet.
so
and it
Ray
worked.
gets his 3rd victory, and Jay's still at 1.
Look, I want to
We
clear
let
something up.
second
Right.
by default.
I did not look. I had 4 points. You had 2. There was 1 question left, unless the last question was somehow like 2.1.
No, you left. It's actually in the fine print. If you read the fine print, you're
You're
lose or
disqualified.
disconnected, you forfeit.
You're disqualified.
If you read the MMA Roundtable sheet, it's at the bottom of the sheet.
Okay, I'm going to check the bottom of the sheet now. I don't care if we have to pause this. There is nothing on this sheet. This is it.
I want on the old sheet. We have an updated version. What version are you on?
I won this round.
Right at the bottom, right under UFC 162. It's in white.
I'm now drawing with Ray.
And as I mentioned, Ray gets his third title. No, Jay. But before we rang you up, we said that we would all act like you didn't get the victory. You did get the victory. It's your second title, which evens it up to 14-8. MMA Mental making it close. Jay with his second title. It seems like you're always first or second.
He could leave early and still win. It's embarrassing for the rest of us.
Jay, you just got trolled, and we will move on. All right, Alistair Overeem injured. You just got punked, son.
I feel like I was.
And he got so mad.
He's like, no, I was so close. He finally got the belt.
Because
I left my ass off.
The number of times I've come second, it's just I've either come second or first. And
where's my trophy?
I'm going to beat Jay. It's just a matter of time.
I want BJ's belt. All right, before we get to the bonehead of the week and break down UFC 158, really the only news coming across the MMA wire was 2 injuries at UFC 160, and both of those injuries have been replaced. Alistair Overeem and Ryan Bader both getting injured in their fights respectively against Junior Dos Santos and Glover Teixeira, and will be replaced by respectively Mark Hunt and James Tehuna. So if that was complicated to follow along to, Alistair Overeem injured, Mark Hunt put in his place to fight Dos Santos, Bader injured, and James Tehuna put in his place to fight Glover Teixeira. We'll talk about that first fight first. Alistair Overeem getting injured, and it will be Dos Santos versus Hunt. We talked about it last night on the MMA podcast, and I think it was one of the more vigorous conversations we had during the show, at least one of the more passionate ones, because I feel like this is kind of a polarizing issue. Is Mark Hunt an elite heavyweight? Is he a threat at heavyweight? And in my opinion, if you don't think he is a threat at the heavyweight division, then you're not watching the same Mark Hunt that I'm watching. This Mark Hunt, in one punch, put Stefan Struve's jaw, not a hairline fracture, busted it into 2 pieces. This guy has as scary boxing as Junior Dos Santos, if not scarier. I cannot wait to see Hunt versus Junior Dos Santos. Dos Santos versus Hunt and Dos Santos versus Overeem are both stylistic dreams of fights, and I can't wait to see the 2 most powerful boxers in the UFC in Junior and Mark Hunt, as I called him last night, face off at UFC 160. Chris, I like the sounds you're making. What do you think? Is Mark Hunt an elite heavyweight?
I absolutely do not think he is. Do I think he has some of the best power in the division? Absolutely. But he hasn't really faced any grapplers so far in his tenure in the UFC. And even though he is facing a striker in Junior Dos Santos, I think everything Mark Hunt does better. Junior Dos Santos does far better. He's a superior athlete who's quicker, has just as much power, and actually has a black belt in jiu-jitsu, even though we never see it. So I think he's going to absolutely destroy Mark Hunt. We've seen him knocked out by Melvin Manhoef. We've seen him finished by Alistair Overeem, and as much as I'm bummed to not see Overeem on this card, I think Dos Santos is going to mop the floor with Mark Hunt.
First of all, I want to say that Ray is the expert on this, but as far as I'm aware, I've checked out the stats, and Junior Dos Santos in his UFC career has gone for a total of, he goes for, per fight this is, 0.5 takedowns. I can't think of one incident where he went for a takedown, so I'll have to ask Ray, because I know he'll probably know which fights in his career did he
Shane
go for a
Carwin,
takedown.
UFC 131.
Oh, nice. There we are. Well, next time I won't ask Ray.
I wouldn't be able to wait, so I wouldn't have known. I'll be honest, I didn't know.
That kind of sums up my question, because I can't remember. He didn't try and take down Verdum. He didn't go for a takedown against Cain Velasquez and things like that. So Stefan Struve as well. As for my early thoughts on this fight, I think Dos Santos won't go for a take. Well, he probably should, but I think Hunt he will stand with Hunt, and Hunt is on a record streak right now. Nobody in the UFC heavyweight division has won as many UFC fights as Hunt. He's on the record right now. Dos Santos should be able to beat him, but it's all going to come down to what's in Dos Santos' mind. And if he wants to stand with him, he could be in some trouble. I mean, we saw Kane rock him, but we didn't see Kane rock him till he landed quite a lot of punches. It's going to be interesting, and I'm going to have to think more about it. But right now, I'm hoping Hunt pulls off the upset.
Yeah, man. It's good to see JDS getting back into a fight that they're actually going to let him win. Like I've been trying to tell everybody, UFC 155 was a work. He was paid to just sit there and take a beating for all 5 rounds and drop the belt. But this time around, it's going to be a fair fight, and they are handing him what I believe to be a bum in Mark Hunt. I don't think Mark Hunt has anything. I was watching Fuel, I think it was 2 days ago or something. They showed a Mark Hunt fight. He was fighting some other fool. They were just throwing open punches at each other. Like when you punch somebody, like in wrestling, with an open hand, you're not making a real fist. He was doing that shit. So this guy, he's going to be no match for Dos Santos. It's going to all be over, man. That's my early thought. Word on the street.
You've got to remember with the open hand stuff is Mark Hunt fought a lot in Japan, and in some Japanese promotions, the rules were you could not strike unless it was open-handed. I know that was the case in, I think it was the old Shuto. And it might still be the case now, so I'm not sure on that. For me, my take on Mark Hunt is that Mark Hunt is an elite heavyweight because of how effective his striking is. And I know we said about the grappling, but Stefan Struve has proved to be a good grappler off his back, and he survived with Stefan Struve and was able to avoid the submissions. Now, if he comes up against someone like Cain Velasquez, or even someone like Antonio Silva, who, if he shoots the takedown, I think Mark Hunt will lose. I really, really do. If he comes up against another pure striker, I think he is a threat, because I honestly feel, I mean, Mark Hunt was a K1 champion. He's the highest caliber of striker you can get within MMA. And JDS, we know he's got this BJJ and black belt, but we've never seen him even attempt to use it. And we've also seen in the past, JDS has sometimes run out of steam a little bit towards the later parts of, more so in 3-round fights we've seen. Obviously the Kane fight was different because he took such a beating. But I think the longer the fight goes on, then it could start favouring Hunt. And if Hunt starts landing those bombs, I don't care who you are, I wouldn't be that surprised to see Hunt knock out JDS. I genuinely mean that. I've got a feeling that this is going to be a big upset and Hunt's going to knock him out.
I'm feeling the same. You know, Junior was definitely broken in his fight against Kane. He'd never been faced with a challenge like that, and similarly, kind of like Kane brought the best wrestling Junior had ever seen, Hunt's going to have the most power than anyone he's ever faced. And similarly to the way when Dos Santos was tested wrestling-wise, if Dos Santos really gets cracked, if he takes one of those punches like Struve took, is he going to be able to keep his wits about him? Because he did not look good at UFC 155. He looked good for hanging in there, but he was not really a competitor. He survived but didn't compete. And if he gets cracked, will he be able to keep going on? We were sort of talking about whether we thought Hunt was a elite heavyweight. What do you see happening in Dos Santos versus Hunt? I still think Junior will win the fight. I think he's a little bit faster. I think he's punches just as hard. But, you know, I could see Hunt winning because you look at both of their chins, and I think Hunt's got a little bit more of a chin than Junior. Junior's never been stopped or knocked out, but, I mean, he really had the soul taken out of him in that Kane fight, whereas Hunt, you know, Hunt's got a fucking iron jaw. What do you all think is going to happen in the actual fight, JDS versus Mark Hunt?
Well, I think that they're going to be trading shots. Dos Santos kind of moves in and out. He doesn't move laterally, so we're going to see, I think, Mark pressing the action. And I think we're actually, for the first time, going to see Dos Santos using a ground game or a clinch game. When the fight's going to end, I'm not sure, but I know that he is going to break or stop Mark Hunt. That's my thought. I'd have to guess in the latter part of round 2, early part of round 3.
JDS loves this style of take one and give one. It's a unique style, and you've got to have a lot of faith in your chin. You know, he keeps his hands low and he leaves his jaw out there. and it does lure people into standing up with him, which is why it was so successful against people like Carwin, Crow Cops that realised how much power he had. Gonzaga became an idiot. Frank Mir was the perfect example. He went for one takedown, then after that he didn't try anything. He started realising he's landing against this guy, and I think again you can't leave your hands down against Mark Hunt. And although they both got legit power, Hunt could easily clip him, but my only worry is like you guys mentioned with the Carwin fight. I think Carwin and Hunt are probably on the same page in terms of power. I think Carwin made more of a statement with it, but then Hunt's got better cardio, believe it or not, with the whole fat on him. Maybe JDS will try and get us to the ground. I'm not really sure. I haven't really thought about it. I'm just hoping Hunt pulls it off. That's all I know.
Yeah, this fucking fight, dude. I know exactly how it's going to go. Mark Hunt's going to come out there thinking it's just another fucking barroom brawl at his local watering hole. He's going to come out there with his fucking just lumbering punches. JDS is going to counter with something crazy, knock this bum out, show everybody why he still is the champion, but, he had to take the dive so that they could move into Mexico. But yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. Mark Hunt is going to get knocked out, and then, next time we see him, he'll be fighting somebody like Roy Nelson.
I love Roy Nelson. I'm calling for the upset. I don't think you can compare Mark Hunt with Shane Carwin, because I don't think Shane Carwin has the power or the technique of Mark Hunt. I mean, I remember seeing Mark Hunt in Pride fighting Vanderlei Silva and Crocop, but it was when them two were at their prime, not like they are now. And he beat both of them. I think Hunt could cause the upset. If JDS stands with Hunt, then I think he'll lose. If JDS is smart and he comes in with a game plan and tries to take Hunt down, I think it's a different fight, but I just don't know if JDS has got that in him to go for the takedowns. We've never really seen that yet.
For sure. Yeah, sorry. The reason why it took me a while to respond is I was looking at this video with the volume down of Joe Lauzon getting the scar tissue in his forehead broken up. Have any of you watched that yet?
Yeah, nah.
Gross stuff. They literally take a dull metal tool and just scrape it across his scar as hard as they can, and you literally can see. Yeah, and he's just like, "Oh my god, this fucking hurts," or it looks like that's what he's saying, but it looks very painful. It's called Graston. It's a fairly new method. It seems sort of old, but it's fairly new, and you just take a dull metal object and just literally like the scar tissue is dough, and you're using this sort of dull. It's almost like the backside of a spoon or a fork or something, just more curved and not as sharp or anything, and you're just mashing it along the scar tissue, trying to break it up. Sort of gross. But we move on to the other fight at UFC 160. That is an injury replacement. Ryan Bader stepping in for him against Glover Teixeira is James Tehuna. Sorry, Jay, did you have anything else to add in about Dos Santos versus Hunt real quick?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I think I said.
Oh, sorry, I read something out of context because you and Chris are talking like retards on the chat. All right, sorry. All right, Bader injured. Tehuna's going to replace him against Glover Teixeira. Teixeira is going to be a heavy favorite, much more so than Dos Santos versus Hunt, I'm thinking, at UFC 160. James Tehuna. I do like the fight stylistically. The only thing I'm kind of upset about is I wanted to see James Tehuna versus Jimmy Manuwa in Tough Smashes 2, which could still be possible. But, I guess I'll start off with you, Jay. What are your early thoughts on Glover versus James Tehuna, and who do you see taking this one?
I like the fight. I don't think we learn anything from it, though. If Teixeira wins, then he hasn't fought a wrestler yet, so we don't know anything. Tehuna's got grappling, but it's not grappling that it's not a Phil Davis, it's not a Ryan Bader, it's not a Rashad, it's not something like that. As even if Tehuna does destroy the hype train of Teixeira, what does that prove either? Does it all we really learn is that Teixeira wasn't on the right path anyway? I don't know. I don't think the fight's nice and it's a good fight, but it doesn't really leave leave anybody anywhere to go with a win. It just says that somebody has to lose, and somebody loses their streak, and somebody loses their height. It's a lose fight for the UFC. I don't like it, but it is going to be an exciting fight, hopefully.
Yeah, if they turn it on and bring it, then it'll be exciting. But Glover, after his last fight against Rampage, he looked like a piece of shit. His performance was terrible. I don't know what the hell was up with him, other than the fact that they, came up to him and said, "Take it easy on Rampage." So yeah, no respect for Glover. I don't really like James Tahuna that much either. I was betting against him. He really fucked me with that shit last time. Yeah, so this fight, I probably won't even watch it, and that is the word on the street.
I can't wait for this fight. I think it's going to be brilliant. I thought, I know Glover Teixeira didn't necessarily look that good against Rampage, but he did look good in his debut. And Rampage has got one of those styles where he stifles people, and he did still beat Rampage. I thought the Ryan Jimmo James Tahuna fight was a great fight. I mean, that head kick from Jimmo was brilliant, and I thought he was out from it, but he obviously come back and then he grappled his way to a win. I think they'll start striking. I think James Tahuna will try and take Glover down. I think Glover will be able to stop it. And I think Glover will get the finish, but I think it's going to be a brilliant fight. I can't wait for it.
Definitely can't wait for that at all, man. I think that this fight is far superior to the original one that was booked with Bader. I think that with Tahuna, we're going to get stylistically a fight that's going to have more fireworks. I would assume that Bader would employ the kind of style he did against Rampage, which was all wrestling. And I think that we're going to see some definite fireworks in this fight. I'm excited for it, man. I think Tahuna poses a lot more challenges to Teixeira, and likewise with Teixeira to Tahuna than if it had been Bader in the first place. Tahuna's got that crazy Mari, war skull. You can't knock that guy out, like Ray brought up with that Ryan Jimmo head kick. He came back from that, and I'm definitely excited.
For sure, yeah. The Glover, I think people would, I don't know. I think people would be saying Glover deserves a better opponent if it wasn't for how boring the Rampage fight was. I think that kind of hurt his case a little bit, but nonetheless, most of us are looking forward to Teixeira versus James Tahuna. And like all of you were kind of getting at, stylistically, it is a really good fight. And unless anybody has anything else to add in onto the fight, speak now or forever hold your peace. We will move on to the bonehead of the week. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Do it.
Sure.
Alright, there we go. Bonehead of the week. My bonehead is Dana White. And in the UFC, regarding this Nick Diaz situation, I thought about it long and hard. And Diaz, I was going to make him my bonehead for missing open workouts, but it's hard to make a guy like that, the bonehead, talk about a dark place. The guy's got demons. I can't really call him out for being bonehead, because A, if I do, he'll probably come hunt me down. B, the guy's just got issues, not being a bonehead, not being ignorant. But Dana White and the UFC need to figure out a better way to handle Nick Diaz. You see it in every other sport. You see teams needing to handle a troublesome player, whether it's in football, basketball, and this is very similar. Look, when Nick Diaz misses the open gym or the open workout, it shouldn't be the UFC finding out about him missing it like 15 minutes after it starts. Like, what? Nick Diaz missed the open workout? They need to get somebody to follow Nick Diaz around from his hotel room to wherever, get a room right next to Nick's, knock on the door an hour before every event starts. Hey Nick, we're going to the weigh-ins. And I know it sounds a little elementary and it sounds kind of silly because Nick's a grown man. And look, you're not going to have to do this for people like George St-Pierre, but Nick Diaz has proven that he's not reliable, and you got to get someone to follow him around. So for the UFC, I know you think it's Diaz's job, and if Diaz misses the press conference, you were going to pull him from the fight. You guys are going to lose millions of dollars if you pull him from the fight, and you need somebody to watch Nick Diaz. So don't leave it all in his camp's hands. Just hire someone, literally pay him a little more than minimum wage, and just have him follow him around. It's not that hard. So Dana White and the UFC's handling of Nick Diaz, gets my honor of Bonehead of the Week?
My bonehead of the week is the tough coaches, just for the matchup for the wild card. I don't think they were the best two guys. Obviously, the way they left it was going to be one guy from each team. They both had to pick 2 guys each because of the way other fighters were finished. I straight away looked at it and thought him, and they literally went the opposite. So I know it's down to personal choice, but for me, it's supposed to be on who shows the most in the tournament, and they picked for me the 2 that look the worst out of the 4. So my bonehead of the week is John Jones and Chael Sonnen for their picks for the wild card.
I think we might have lost Jay, guys.
Not again. How are we going to continue on?
I don't know, man.
DQ him from bonehead of the week.
That's true. He's going to forfeit this shit. That son of a bitch always draw. I guess I'll take over then. My bonehead of the week is John Jones. We covered it earlier. He tried to buy off Team Sonnen's coach, Jamie the Living Legend Huey, to join his side. So he is the bonehead of the week for thinking for 1 second that Coach Jamie Huey would value the almighty dollar over his friendship with Chael Sonnen. It's bullshit, John Jones. You can burn in hell. You can go to hell. Like I said, even talking about it, I can feel the acid building up in my throat. Like I think I'm about to puke, guys. So John Jones is my bonehead of the week.
And Jay, you are back. Did you want to take over? All right, Jay's not with us. Chris, go ahead.
Gentlemen, my bonehead of the week is, it comes down to matchmaking. It's Joe Silva and Sean Shelby. I know we talk about this quite a bit, about, how the hell is Nick Diaz getting the shot. And as much as Ramses doesn't want to hear it, how the hell is Chael Sonnen getting a shot in a division where he hasn't fought in years and isn't ranked. But my bonehead of the week is Joe Silva and Sean Shelby for not booking Ricardo Lamas and Jose Aldo. Anthony Pettis doesn't deserve it. I'm sorry, he's not a champion in another division. How the hell is that guy getting a shot? I mean, you got a guy in Ricardo Lamas who finished Matt Grice, finished Cub Swanson, beat the shit out of Hatsuhioki, and then finished Eric Koch. Now that's 3 top 10 featherweights in 1 calendar year, just about that. And he finished 2 of them. He's kind of the Johnny Hendricks of featherweight. Come on, guys. Give him his friggin' shot. I mean, I don't care if it sells. You gotta do it.
All right, and I don't know if Jay is back yet. Jay, you with us?
Yep. Yeah, I am. My bonehead of the week is Chris Camozzi. I actually heard that he bothered showing up in Canada. I think he's an idiot. He's going to get killed by Nick Ring. I don't know what he's doing. He apparently thinks he's got a chance in this fight. He's a bonehead in my eyes. I don't know what makes you think that you've got a chance against Nick Ring. First of all, going up against him. Secondly, going up against him in Canada. This guy's an idiot. I heard that he's actually going to attend the weigh-ins. Why doesn't he just pussy out now and avoid his fate?
For sure. Of the other 4, I'll go with Ray. Even though I sort of disagree, I see where he's coming from. Both of them did look good, and I do agree with that principle of you should be judged more on what you've done in the house than what you've done before getting in the house. So I'll give it to Ray with the tough coaches.
This is a strange one for me because I don't think Joe Silva's bonehead. I can't wait to see Pettis versus Aldo. That's just my opinion. Obviously, I don't bum Ring like Jay does, so Camozzi, he's doing what he's got to do. I don't agree with the whole Dana White Nick Diaz thing. I think Nick Diaz needs to be responsible for his own actions. He's a grown man. So that only leaves to John Jones with him trying to pinch the coach. I actually think it's quite funny, but on the process of elimination, my bonehead of the week is John Jones.
It looks like I can't pick myself, can I? So I guess, again, with the process of elimination, I guess I've got to go with John Jones.
I think I'll give it to Dana White, just not because of the reasons Jake stated, but because he did call me a moron on Twitter last week, and then it turned out that what I said in my theory was actually the truth.
Ooh, I definitely am going to give it to John Jones. I mean, that's a dummy move to do that on camera, son. Do that off camera. Oh, what are you trying to do, looking like a complete tool, not only to your coaching staff, the other fighters, and the other coach, but also broadcasted worldwide. You're a bonehead.
And it looks like Ron Jones is our bonehead of the week. If you missed Mr. Jones, he actually called into the MMA podcast last night. We got a chance to talk with Mr. Jones about everything from his fight coming up with Chael Sonnen to his current legal status, whether he's on parole, whether he can drive. So definitely check that out on iTunes and YouTube. Just search for the MMA podcast, just like you would do for MMA Mental or Word on the Street, a couple of other fine podcasts. All right, UFC 158, gentlemen. We've been putting it off until now. We got 6 fights to break down, 5 fights from the main card, including all those welterweight bouts. We got the top 4 welterweights in the world all squaring off against one another. But we'll start off with a prelim fight, and a fight that I only want to mention because he's a friend of both MMA Mental and the MMA podcast, Darren Cruikshank. We're all big fans. He is a slight favorite over John McDessie, who's going to be at home in Montreal, Canada. McDessie trains up at the TriStar Gym up there. Very simply, who you got? I got Cruikshank by an absolute execution. You rewatch that Cruikshank-Martinez fight. There's nothing Martinez should have done differently other than maybe quit earlier and not get knocked out so brutally after taking all that damage. He took a ton of damage in round 1, whether it was knees to the body, kicks to the body, kicks to the head. He was just blasting him. I think Cruikshank's going to do more of the same, and I think we're going to see an early stoppage, head kick execution once again.
I've also got lightweight Darren Cruikshank. There is no one in that division. Well, there's only 2 guys in the UFC that I would never want to fight. One of them is, of course, Yves Edwards. And the other one is Darren Cruikshank, man. Too much fucking power, dude. Too much power. It is fucking scary. John McDessie is a dead man. He better pay his electric bill. You know what I'm saying? He better write that fucking will. He better have it prepared. He better say his goodbyes, because I honestly believe that John McDessie will die at UFC 158. That's the word on the street prediction.
And
we interviewed Darren. We interviewed Darren. Our interview wasn't very good, so I don't really like him, to be honest with you.
Whoa.
Is that a joke?
Well, you can suck a big one.
Darren's brilliant. He's just awesome. And you can't not help but love him. He's just brilliant. He's a great interview. And I was pulling your legs. I'm obviously 100% rooting for Cruikshank. I've never really been keen on McDessie anyway, but regardless of who Cruikshank's fighting, I'll be rooting for him because we've had such a good experience with him. Obviously, we listened to you, and it was good on your show as well. Am I still on? Yeah, I'm still on. I think that Cruikshank's going to win, and I think he's going to get a TKO. But I think it's going to be ground and pound. I've just got a feeling, because we know McDessie can strike, but we know he's not the best on the ground, because we've seen him get completely schooled by Dennis Hallman, and we know Cruikshank's got a good wrestling base. So I can see Cruikshank maybe round 2 taking him down and beating him with ground and pound, because I think McDessie's like a fish out of water on the ground. So that's my prediction. Round 2 GMP.
It's beautiful, man. Yeah, John McDessie is so overrated. It's ridiculous. That guy, for a guy with the nickname The Bull, he fights like a matador, and a shitty one at that. I mean, he's kind of a bully in the cage, and then once you get him down, kind of like Ray had said, he's just flopping around like a fish. So I definitely think Cruikshank, coming from a wrestling background and a prestigious one at that, it will be ended on the ground, just like Ray had predicted. What round by what means, I'm not sure, but I can guarantee you Cruikshank will finish McDessie on the ground or in the clinch against the cage.
I have to agree with what you guys are saying. I don't agree with Jake, though. I think that Darren Cruikshank's going to get the takedown, like you guys have said. He's a fish out of John's a fish out of water on the ground. Darren could stand with him, but why play the 50-50 game when you can win the battle on the ground? There's no point in risking it. I think Cruikshank might even get the submission in this one. Maybe first round, probably.
For sure, yeah. Now, yeah, he might be able to get the takedown. We will see. I just love those kicks, so I'm hoping to see more of an exhibition of those like we saw against Henry Martinez. Move on to the main card that starts with Mike Ricci versus Colin Fletcher, probably the most talked about fighters on their respective seasons of The Ultimate Fighter. Sort of polar opposites. You got Ricci, who's the very quiet, ultra serious guy. And you got Colin, who's outspoken and silly, and his nickname's Freak Show. Ricci is a heavy favorite, the biggest favorite on the main card other than George St-Pierre. He will be at home in front of his home crowd. He has a little bit more experience. Most people think he's going to win this fight. But who do you guys have? I have Ricci, even though I'm going to be rooting hard for Colin Fletcher. I just don't see Colin being able to win this fight. I think Ricci is going to impose his game plan however he wants, really.
Oh, God, it hurts me so much. I'm obviously rooting for Freak Show. He's, again, another great guy. We've had him on the show as well. And he's such a character. And it's funny enough, because we had him on the show and we asked him, who would you like to fight? And he actually said he wanted to fight Mike Ricci. I don't think Colin Fletcher should be counted out. I mean, I really do want Colin to win. I can't say more. I really, really want Fletcher to come in and get that win, do what he wants to do. But it's hard not to go for Ricci. It's mad because obviously we've got a lot of Canadian friends on the playground. And a lot of them are saying, yeah, we think Ricci's going to win, but we really want Fletcher to win. So even the Canadians want Fletcher to win. Ricci's he doesn't draw people in. And again, I remember we spoke to Sam Alvey on the show, and he said there was one guy in the house he didn't like, and he just couldn't get on. And Sam Alvey seemed to get on with everybody. But he said the one guy he couldn't stand was Mike Ricci. He said he was arrogant, he underestimated people. He underestimated Colt Smith. I think Fletcher needs to grapple with him, but I think Ricci's going to get a decision, but I really do hope I'm wrong. I'll be happy to be wrong on this one.
Yeah, I mean, well, what you guys have said, I echo the sentiments. I mean, Mike Ricci is just a big old fucking grump. Guy's a grouch. He acts like a 90-year-old man, dresses like a 20-year-old hipster chick, but he fights pretty good. I mean, he obviously has some skills, trains with a good camp. I think that's what's going to make the difference. I think that he obviously has TriStar behind him, and Fletcher trains in the UK, but probably not as prestigious of a camp. I'm totally rooting for Fletcher, but I think Ricci is just going to dominate this fight.
Ricci is 7-1 in Canada, so that's a pretty impressive record. I think that's true anyway. That was the last time I checked. I really don't want to see a loser get cut in this fight. I know that with the TUF contracts, normally it means that if you lose the finale and then lose again, you lose or probably will be cut. I think I am rooting for a Freak Show. I don't hate Mike Ricci as much as you guys seem to. This is also Mike Ricci's return to the lightweight division, which is fully justified as to why he's the favourite. But I am rooting for Freak Show, and I'm picking Ricci. Simple as that.
Oh shit! Sorry, guys. Mike Ricci, the Martian, is back, guys. There's not going to be any question about it. All you need to know about Mikey Ricci is this: he went the distance, 5 full fucking rounds against Darren Cruikshank. All right, he's a tough motherfucker. He's a tough son of a bitch. And now that he's coming down the weight class, I think we're gonna see we're gonna see him at his best, man. Some crazy ass knockouts, just like we saw when he was in the house. Colin Fletcher, I don't even know who this guy is, man. He's a dead man. So yeah, the Freak Show is going down. Mikey, the Marvin Ricci, he's done with his mom's basement. He's coming out to the UFC the way it was supposed to be before Colton Smith hit him with that cheap shot. And real quick, I just wanted to ask you, Ray, you said you interviewed Sam Alvey, and supposedly I remember watching one episode where he was like, my wife's totally hot. She won America's Top Model. Do you know her name so I can look up pictures of her right now and just to judge her superficially?
I'll find out for you, because he's on my Facebook. I'll find out and I'll send you a message on here.
Thank you.
All right, and after Ricci versus Colin Fletcher, we move to the middleweights. Before we get into those welterweight fights, we got Nick Ring taking on Chris Camozzi. And I've got to say, Nick Ring is the most pathetic UFC fighter I've ever seen. He's horrible. He can't do anything. No, I'm only saying that because our resident roundtablist Jay has a man crush on Ring. Ring has a very marked advantage on the mat, even though I want to troll Jay again and say I have Chris Camozzi up and down in this fight. I will say it is very close. Vegas actually sees this as the closest fight on the entire card. Basically, if you bet on either guy, you can't double your money, which is pretty rare. Nick Ring and Chris Camozzi, I see it a little more one-sided than Vegas does. I think Ring's going to be able to take it to the ground, and once it is at the ground, he's going to impose his will, and we'll see a unanimous decision. What do you think, Chris?
Oh my God, I don't care about this fight. It seems like they stick in Camozzi, Fukuda, Dongi Yang, Ring, and Court McGee. Like, all those guys just fight each other over and over and over again. It's like this lower B, upper C level class of fights that I just don't give a shit about. I hope Ring wins. I mean, he's got some awesome Muay Thai. Other than that, I mean, I really just don't give a shit about this fight.
And Jay is dead. I guess we'll pass it along.
Me?
You? We will pass it to Ramses. What do you think? Ring versus Camozzi?
You know, it's really convenient that Jay dropped out just as I was about to ask him why he was such a Nick Ring fan, and I was going to ask him another personal question that I've been wondering about for some time. But he's gone. So this fight, Nick Ring...
Well, I am calling him back right now, so we should have him back on after you break down this fight.
Oh, okay. Great. Yeah, Nick Ring versus Chris Camozzi, I really don't care about this one that much, except Jay said he was a fan of Nick Ring, so I'm going to pick Chris Camozzi. Just because, just Jay, man, there's something about this guy, man. I can't quite put my finger on it. But yeah, Nick Ring's going down just because I fucking said so. That's the word on the street.
I don't mind this fight so much. I don't mind this fight so much. But out of the 5 fights on the main card, this is probably the weakest of the 5 fights. But I don't mind the fight. I think that it's going to be very close. I think it's more likely going to go the distance. And I'm leaning towards Nick Ring, but it really could go. It is a coin toss, this fight, for me. Neither guy is ever really going to be relevant for me in the division. Not in a big, big way, but yeah, I think Ring's going to get a decision.
All right, and how unfortunate for Jay. We were trolling him about the Guess That tweet, but we're not trolling him. He might get passed over to break down his favorite fighter. I guess whenever we get him back, we will double back real quick and hear what he has to say about Nick Ring versus Chris Camozzi. If we do get him back, not able to add him back to the call. Let's get to the welterweights, gentlemen. There's going to be a giant welterweight shakeup. We have the champion. We have the number 1, 2, 3, and 6 ranked welterweights, along with probably the biggest welterweight coming over from Strikeforce, Nate Marquardt. We will start with Nate Marquardt taking on number 6th ranked Jake Ellenberger. I'm a big fan of Jake Ellenberger in this fight. I'm not gonna lie. I love both fighters, which makes this tough for me. But I think we saw in Nate versus Tarek Saffiedine that Tarek was able to sprawl every time Nate tried to take him down. I don't think Nate's going to be able to take down Jake Ellenberger. What it's going to come down to is, can Jake Ellenberger take down Nate? If he can, we've seen Nate in fights, Chael Sonnen, get taken down by a dominant wrestler and just not be able to get up. And I think Jake's got, I don't know if he has the strength or the pressing of a Sonnen, but he has the wrestling acumen. So I think if he takes him down, he'll win the fight via ground and pound. But if it stays standing, Marquardt's going to throw the kitchen sink at him. He had that awesome fight against Woodley. It could go either way if it's standing, but if Jake takes him down, I have Jake, and that's why I'm leaning toward Jake Ellenberger in this one, because, we have the same names, and Jake's have always got to stick together, and I guess we'll skip Jay, go straight to Ramses. I'll see if I can add Jay back.
With this fucking fight, Jake Ellenberger, Nate Marquardt, these guys should have retired. They should have been out of here about 3 years ago, all right? They're still coming into fights with like a UFC 75 mentality. It's the fucking year 2000 and Chael, people. They need to get with the program. So yeah, I don't really care about this fight. Jake Ellenberger, you know, I can't even, him and Jake Shields, you put them right in front of me next to each other, I won't be able to tell you which one.
One of them has a dead dad.
Oh, well, Jesus.
Maybe they both do. Who knows? But I did notice Jay's back. Jay, I would keep on just going along, but I know Nick Ring's your favorite fighter. You missed Ramsey's choose Chris Camozzi, literally just because you're such a Nick Ring fan. So, why don't you break down Nick Ring versus Chris Camozzi for us? And I think Ramsey's has a couple of questions to follow up.
Okay, well, first of all, I apologise for getting cut. I don't know what's going on over here, but Nick Ring, man, first of all, there's 6 welterweight fights in this card, and I'm so pumped for that alone. And then you top it off with Nick Ring on the card. It can't get any better than that. Like I said earlier, my bonehead is Chris Camozzi. Why the fuck is he stepping in that cage? He's going to get dissected in there. Nick Ring has never lost the first round. I think I might have mentioned that before I cut out. Even Tim Boach couldn't handle him in the first round. Yeah, Chris Camozzi might be good, whatever. He was on the TUF season. TUF 11. Nick Ring has been destroying TUF 11 competitors. He hasn't lost to any of them. I'm confident in Nick Ring in this one, and he's just going to clear house in this one. Chris Camozzi just is going to get dominated for the full 3 rounds. You heard it here.
Hey,
Yeah,
Jay,
Jay.
who do you...
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to ask him who he thinks is better at smoking things, Nick Diaz or Nick Ring.
Are we talking smoking weed, or are we talking smoking cock, first of all?
Smoking penis.
Smoking
Either.
I've got to say Nick Diaz, he seems to be getting caught for doing it. Nick Ring has yet to be caught for doing it.
I just had a few quick questions for you, Jay. Just curious or whatever. So you're a big Nick Ring fan. Why are you such a big Nick Ring fan?
I'm just, have you looked at him? He is one sexy beast. He's got a 6-pack of it's like godly 6-pack. He's got the blonde hair, the blue eyes. How can't you love that man?
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, okay, interesting answer. My other question is, just curious again, what is your favorite color?
What's color of what?
That's
my favorite.
Just in
color.
general, you're out there, you're like, oh man, that's an interesting color.
I've got a top 3. I have got a top 3 if you're interested. First is purple, second is silver, third is pink.
Oh, great. Oh, wait. Sorry, I think I hear something in the background of your mic. Is that your girlfriend around there? What's that in the background, dude? Is that your girlfriend?
She's not here, no. She's quite far away, but I've got a couple of men on my bed, so it might be them. I
rest my case. We'll move on.
All right. Ramses was breaking down Jake Ellenberger versus Nate Marquardt. Jay, you dropped off the call. You just got back on. Number 6, Jake Ellenberger taking on the underdog Nate Marquardt. The first of the welterweight bouts will be seen on Saturday. Who you got?
Is that me or Ramses?
Jay.
It's you, son.
Well, first of all, it's not the first welterweight bout we'll be seeing. We've also got Jordan Main. We've also got Dan Miller. There's 6 welterweight fights in this card. You've even got Patrick Cote making his drop down. I'm looking forward to seeing Jake Ellenberger again, but I've got to give it to Nate. I think he's going to pull off the upset, although only slight upset. And I think he's just going to be able to find a way, like he did against Tyron Woodley. He's going to be able to outclass him in the striking. Jake's only really got power. Nate's got better technique. Although Jake could probably out-wrestle him, Nate's going to be able to work that because of his training at Greg Jackson's, and that's my pick.
I'm done with these guys. I hope they both retire after this fight, win or lose. I don't care. They can both get their hands raised at the end and just walk off into the sunset. Like I said, they're coming in there with UFC 75 mentalities and game plans, and it's the year 2000 chill. Word on the street.
Wow, word on the street.
I'm a big Nate Marquardt fan, I've got to say. I always enjoy watching him fight. I've got a question to ask, actually, because I know we're not as up on the wrestling credentials in the UK, and I know obviously everyone's talking about Jake's wrestling. Could you compare for me Jake's wrestling and Tyrone's wrestling? Tyron Woodley? Anybody?
Oh, is that an open question?
Yeah, I genuinely want to know the difference of wrestling between what Jake Ellenberger has done and what Tyron Woodley's done. Because I don't get the different level of wrestlers. That's why I'm asking.
I actually don't know. I'm stumped.
Well, Tyron Woodley versus Marquardt wasn't even a wrestling match, though, I got to say. So I don't know why it...
So the reason I'm saying is, I mean, we've seen Nate Marquardt get dominated by two wrestlers, and they were Chael Sonnen and Yushin Nakami. And let's be, I mean, the Nate Marquardt fight, the Chael Sonnen fight, he really made that a good fight, and he threw a lot of strikes from the bottom, and he made Chael work for that win, and Chael obviously didn't. It was a great fight. I don't put Jake Ellenberger in the same category as wrestler, especially not with size as well as what Yushin Nakami and Chael Sonnen are. Also, we've seen in the past that Jake has gassed. We've seen that before where he's got tired, and Nate Marquardt will make him be working constantly. I just think this is Nate Marquardt. I don't understand why Nate Marquardt's an underdog, to be honest with you. I mean, I know he didn't look great against Tarek Safadine, but Jake Ellenberger's not a technical striker like Tarek Safadine is. I see Marquardt winning. I think Jake Ellenberger will get tired, and either round 2 or round 3, I think I could see Marquardt taking his back and sinking in a choke. That's what I'm going for, Marquardt by submission.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff right there. I agree with the underdog thing there, Ray. I think that Nate Marquardt is a giant. I mean, the similarities they have is that Marquardt is big, but they have the same size head just about. Ellenberger, has the same size fists when they were doing their kind of press conference thing, standing side by side. I think the cardio is going to play into it. His cardio looked far superior in his last fight against Jay Huron, but I think that Nate Marquardt is going to come in hungry, after that loss, which was by a decision. And I think that Jake isn't going to be as hungry with his split decision against Huron, I believe. So yep. I think that the wrestling is different. I think that Jake is more technical, but I think that Marquardt just has better fast twitch muscle. So I think Marquardt's going to take this one for sure. I think he's going to finish Jake Ellenberger. I mean, Jake Ellenberger lost to Condit and Campman finished Jake Ellenberger. So I definitely think that Marquardt has that kind of finishing ability as well. I'm going to say it's going to be against the cage like he did it against Woodley. I'm going to say third round, maybe second, but third for sure.
Yeah, you make a good point. I think the longer this fight goes, the less of a chance Nate Marquardt has to win, and he probably will be coming out throwing the kitchen sink, trying to get a fight by a finish, obviously by a KO or a TKO. I don't see Nate subbing Jake Ellenberger or anything. This one will definitely be a barn burner. Both of them are very similar fighters. They both fight with similar bases. They're wrestlers with knockout power, and that's going to be a really fun one. And that brings us to the co-main event. You got the number 1 contender in the world, Johnny Hendricks, a fighter who most people think should be fighting for the title, taking on Carlos Condit, a guy who just fought for the title, lost to George St-Pierre, rocked him, almost beat him, but still came up short at the very end. Johnny Hendricks is the favorite in Vegas. This is really great stylistically. It's a guy who's a wrestler and a boxer. Johnny Hendricks. He's probably got the most dangerous left hand in the UFC, and he has the wrestling to back it up. Taking up Carlos Condit, who he's probably the most versatile striker in the in the welterweight division. Knocked out Yum Yum Kim via flying knee knockout. He has head kicks. He loves setting those up with jabs and leg kicks and body strikes. But when it comes down to it, I would have given this just a complete even, I don't know, pick 'em. It could go either way, 50-50, if it wasn't for Johnny Hendricks' dominant wrestling. But Johnny Hendricks has very dominant wrestling, and Hendricks has the option. If somehow in the first round Condit is able to outstrike Johnny Hendricks, Hendricks knows he can put you like that burp in there. Johnny Hendricks knows he can put Carlos Condit on his ass for the second and the third round and win the fight. It's as simple as that. I really like Carlos. I think he's one of these guys that is good enough that he deserves to be champion of something. I mean, he in a different era. I think if Condit would have come up 5-6 years earlier in the day of Matt Hughes, I think Carlos Condit would have wrecked shop against Matt Hughes. But he's in this era where you have so many good welterweights, and I think Johnny Hendricks and George St-Pierre are the only welterweights on the earth better than Carlos Condit. And I hate saying I think Condit's going to lose, but I think he is against Johnny. I think the first round we'll see striking, and if Hendricks doesn't wrap it up there, and I am calling a first round KO via Johnny Hendricks, because Hendricks has knockout power, ladies and gentlemen. He's finished 2 of his last 3 fights in less than a minute. I have Johnny Hendricks first round KO. But if for any reason Condit's able to keep the distance and outstrike him, Hendricks has the option to go in there. We have someone tweeting in, our buddy from the MMA Playground, actually, our buddy Spider Silva 99. Follow him on Twitter, Spider Silva 99. Quick little sidebar. We had Lenny Hart on the MMA podcast who actually told us the story about she actually gave Anderson Silva the moniker of the Spider. Go check out that interview because it was really funny. She doesn't follow MMA, and she's like, "Oh, is that Anderson Silva guy doing well?" We're like, yeah, you gave him the nickname the Spider. He's doing all right for himself. He's the greatest ever." But Chris, our buddy Chris, Spider Silva 99 is tweeting us, Hendricks is going to wrestle fuck Condit. Hendricks is the real number 1 contender. I agree with both of those statements. If he wants to wrestle fuck him, he can put him on his ass, and he does deserve this fight more than Nick Diaz, but it's all about that paper. Dana White doesn't have enough private jets, so you gotta see GSP Diaz because that's the real moneymaker. But you can't turn down Hendricks after this fight if he wins again. I know I've been full of hot air, been talking my ass off the last 5 minutes. Johnny Hendricks, Carlos Condit. It is the fight I think most hardcore MMA fans are most pumped for this fight. It's a stylistic dream. I'll pass it off to another person on the round table full of hot air. Ramses, what do you think? Johnny Hendricks, Carlos Condit.
Oh, man, Zufo really fucked Carlos Condit on this one, man. First they made him drop the belt to GSP, and now they're fucking making him get knocked. He's gonna get knocked out and take some serious brain damage here for the company. He is the number 1 company man now that they killed Rich Franklin over there in China with that fucking who was it, movie star, whatever, Jackie Chan,
Bruce
whatever.
Lee.
Yeah, exactly. It just got knocked out cold, but now they replaced Rich Franklin with Carlos Condit. He is the company man. He'll take whatever stupid fight they put in front of him. Fighting Johnny Hendricks is a stupid fight for him because Johnny Hendricks is going to run him over and knock him out easy. I'm actually predicting a first round knockout in this one. There's no way. Carlos Condit, man, he's trying to pitter patter, run away from people lately, but Johnny's not gonna let that happen, sucker. He ain't GSP. He ain't even Nick Diaz, man. You look in his fucking eyes, man. This dude's fucking crazy. So Condit, man, you're done. He probably knows it. I feel bad for the kid, but at the same time, I was disgusted by watching him, just fake like GSP was winning in that last fight. That disgusted me, so karma's a bitch. Sorry, Carlos, it's time for the payback. Word on the street.
This is a really interesting fight because we all know about Hendricks' power hand, and there's no doubt in that guy. His knockout power is unbelievable, and we've seen he doesn't just knock out your average welterweights. I mean, he's knocking out the best guys in the division. But then you've got Condit as a striker. He's probably more diverse and more explosive. We've seen him knock out a good few people. You mentioned Dong Hyun Kim. He also knocked out Dan Hardy in the UK. So Carlos Condit is no joke. With regards to the wrestling, there was an interesting comment made on the press conference call, which I know Ramses was listening to because we were tweeting back and forth, and I'm sure a few others listened to it, and you might remember it or not. Because obviously most of the talking was done by Diaz and GSP, but I think Hendricks got to answer one question. And Diaz had basically said, I deserve this shot. No one wants to see people being wrestled. It's boring. They want to see fights, not wrestling. And then someone said to Hendricks, so what do you think to that? And he said, I don't mind that comment because even though I'm a wrestler, if anyone knows watching my fights, I don't wrestle. I strike. I win my fights by knockout. So if with that in mind, and with his comments like that, will he want to wrestle with Condit? Even in the back of his mind, will he want to revert to wrestling? I see this fight staying on the feet. I think it's going to go the distance, and I wouldn't be surprised if Condit won if it goes the distance. And in a way, if Condit wins, that's Hendricks shafted because that's Hendricks out of the title running. I mean, even on a 5-win streak against the best in the world, he can't get a title shot. So he ain't going to get a title shot if he loses to And they won't rematch Condit because it was a good fight, but there's another fight people want to see. I don't think no one's really that keen about seeing Condit.
Chris?
Hey, sorry about that, guys. It sounded like Ray cut off. I was waiting my turn there to see if he was going to finish. My bad. I'm really excited about this fight. I think this fight is much more compelling. As much as Ramses wants to call Condit a bum, he's anything but. And I think this is much better than Ellenberger Condit. Even though Ellenberger is coming off a win, before that it was a crushing loss. So I think this is much more compelling. I'm excited for it. I think that Carlos Condit brings a great tool set. I think that Johnny Hendricks is on fire, and I can't call a winner in this one, man. This is a pick'em fight. They're both so skilled in different areas, and I think this fight is tailor-made for fight of the night.
Yeah, this fight really is interesting. Johnny Hendricks needs to remember that he has that ability, that grinding style that the wrestlers love. This is his tool to victory. You guys have said it before. Carlos Condit he's got a solid chin. He stood in there with, even though he didn't do much to Diaz, he stood in there with Diaz. He didn't get finished by Yum Yum. Dan Hardy, that famous take one to give one. They both knocked each other at the same time. And Carlos stood there standing. His chin will be tested. He's even fought Kampman and Ellenberger. Like this, it is going to come down to Hendricks' game plan. And I think the smartest move for him is to go to the wrestling. However, that said, if you look at the other tools in MMA, if this was a boxing match, Hendricks. If this was a kickboxing match, you give it to Condit. If it was a wrestling match, you give it to Hendricks. If it was jiu-jitsu, you'd probably go Condit. It's interesting in that way, but I think Hendricks is going to be trying to be a bit too exciting. I hope he's not, and I hope he picks up the victory. But right now, I think that Condit's front kicks and things are going to have Hendricks he's going to be out-skilled. There's going to be too many techniques that he's not quite prepared for. However, that said, I do want to see Hendricks win just to see how GSP reacts to him. But right now, I'm thinking that Condit is stylistically probably the better and safer pick.
Yeah, it is very interesting. I like how all of you sort of echoed the thought that this is an amazing fight. I almost wish it was the co-main on another card just so it would get more attention, because it is a damn shame that on all these conference calls and press conferences, Johnny Hendricks versus Carlos Condit isn't getting as much attention. I understand George St-Pierre versus Nick Diaz, that's what's going to get all the attention. We've had so many lackluster co-main events. I just wish we would have seen one of those on this card, just so really the attention you pay to the main event and not to the co-main event is sort of founded. Before we move on to the main event, GSP Diaz, though, I do want to ask one question. Johnny Hendricks is the number one contender right now. A lot of people think he deserved the title shot, not Nick Diaz. If he beats Carlos Condit, he will get the title shot, period. But what if Carlos Condit beats him? If Carlos Condit wins this fight, it'll be a rematch against either guy if he does get a title shot. George St-Pierre and Nick Diaz, both of their last opponents were Carlos Condit. George won, Nick lost. Carlos Condit, if he wins this fight, does he deserve a title shot? Probably against GSP. GSP is a huge favorite. So Condit wins. Do you give Condit the title shot? The UFC rankings now, Hendricks is number 1 and Condit's number 2. So that would, at least rankings-wise, put Condit back into number 1 contendership. Diaz is number 3. The next 4 guys in line after Condit would be Rory, Damian Maia, Jake Ellenberger, and Martin Kampman. I don't think either of those guys would deserve a shot more than Condit if he beat Hendricks. So I'm saying if Condit wins, set up the super fight, because GSP put away Condit pretty handily the first time. It was not a work, Ramses. I think if Condit wins, we see the super fight next for GSP. If Hendricks wins, we see GSP Hendricks, and then the super fight. What do you guys think? If Condit wins, should he get an immediate title shot rematch?
Holy shit. I hadn't even thought about this. No, because who the fuck wants to see that? So I don't think that would happen. And me personally, I wouldn't want to see it because the first one. I'm sorry, Jake, you're wrong. It was a work. I said so. I have the proof. I have about 25 minutes worth of proof. Just let me know if you need to see it. I'll show you where you can download that shit.
But, go ahead and send me that link. And really quick, I did want to add in that Chris Martinez or Buddy Spider Silva 99 tweeted into the show. If you want to tweet in and have your tweet read live on the air, tweet us at MMA Mental or the MMA Podcast. Spider Silva tweets in, Hendricks has the skill set to beat GSP, although I wouldn't mind seeing if Condit could drop GSP again. Very true. I think both guys have their own skills to threaten GSP, but Ramses, I know you were in the middle of a rant, so I'll let you get back to it.
Oh, I was at the end here. There's just no way that Condit wins. He will be knocked out. So that's the bottom line. I won't even entertain this question.
I like what Spider Silva said. For a long time, before Hendricks even started his run, I've said it to a few people, and I'll say it again. For me, the way GSP is going to lose is if he comes up against one who's got a good wrestling base and has got knockout power, because you need to neutralise the wrestling. If you can't neutralise GSP's wrestling, then you're just going to get taken down and controlled for so many rounds. If you can neutralise the wrestling and you've got the power to knock him out, then you can knock GSP out. And what we've seen with Hendricks is he's got a good wrestling base and he's got knockout power. So I honestly feel that Hendricks will be the person who could stop GSP. But for me, Condit seems a worse stylistic matchup because he's so diverse with his striking for Hendricks than what GSP does for Hendricks, as daft as that sounds. If Condit wins the fight, does he deserve a rematch? He probably does, but I wouldn't give it him because of what you have said. I mean, their fight was good. It was an okay fight. But I'm not in a rush to see that fight again so soon after, it wasn't that long ago we saw that fight. I'm not in a rush to see that fight again, not yet.
Yeah, great point. I think that if Condit wins, if GSP loses and Condit wins, sure, why not? But if GSP retains the title, absolutely not. We've seen what Condit can do against a ring-rusted GSP, and he didn't have much to offer beyond that kick. So I think there's plenty of fresh blood in that division. You got Damian Maia, Ellenberger if he wins impressively. You got Johnny Hendricks. I mean, I think he should have to win a couple more fights, even if he beats Johnny Hendricks.
First of all, I'm going to say thanks for listening, Chris Martinez. I know he's a Playground member, and I absolutely love the guy. I don't know why he wasn't invited to the van earlier, but I'm glad I did invite him. Next up, the question at hand. I think that Carlos Condit will have to beat someone else. He'll have to beat somebody like Rory McDonald. Rory McDonald was the original opponent. Yeah, beating the number one contender, that makes a ton of sense. And Dana White did say that the winner of this fight is the number one contender. I don't think anybody really wants to see that rematch straight away, especially with GSP then not coming off after the ring rust and everything and the injury tears. I think the fight will be less competitive. Ray got it completely right, and that's you need a guy with takedown defense that's going to land and test GSP's heart. Carlos Condit doesn't have the skill set to do that. Hendricks does, which makes him more interesting. Yeah, maybe we will see the super fight, but you've also got to remember that Silva's got to get past Weidman, and that's going to be interesting in itself. So I don't know where the division will stand, but I think Condit, if he does win, he's got to first of all, he's got to fight. I think if he does win, I think they're looking to set up Safadine versus Condit, in my eyes.
For sure, yeah. Safadine Condit, that would be interesting too. Safadine can get by his next opponent. We will see, but that brings us to the main event. George St-Pierre taking on the challenger, Nick Diaz. There's been a war of words leading up to it. Very captivating. Very simply, before we talk about what could happen, what should happen, who you got, I'd be surprised if anyone picks Nick Diaz. I think most of us fit the same template. We want Nick Diaz to win. He's entertaining, he's captivating, he's polarizing, but he's just not going to be able to get it done against George St-Pierre. It will be interesting, though, because George, his best position is on top in guard, and he's awesome at passing guard. Nick Diaz, his best position is on the bottom, and he's great at attacking from the bottom, not letting people pass guard. I think George weirdly enough, might want to keep this fight standing. I think George is a more technical striker. He I don't think will get lulled into the sort of pitter-patter boxing match that Diaz likes to make, even though it's possible he can lull anybody into that. If it doesn't work out, I think on the ground George would have the advantage. I don't think Diaz would be able to submit George from the bottom. I don't know if George would be able to pass Nick's guard, but he at least would be able to keep that top position and impose on him. I have George winning this fight, unanimous decision. You know, he's won his last, 7 fights via UD. It's hard to pick any other way. What do you guys think? I'll throw it out to our buddy Ray first.
It is definitely an interesting matchup, and don't get me wrong, I'm picking GSP to win by UD, and I think in most cases you'd be silly not to pick with that. I mean, that's what we've seen, you know, for the last so many years against whoever he's fought, and he's fought the best. You know, he's fought the best of the best. He's never had easy fights, GSP, in the UFC, in my opinion, not since he's been champion anyway. And Nick Diaz is interesting because personally on the feet, I think Diaz has got the better boxing with his pitter-patter style. I think that would do well against GSP with that style. And obviously GSP with his wrestling, if he takes Diaz down, Diaz is a danger off his back. But what we've seen with all of the MMA wrestlers is they're very good in top position of avoiding submission. And I just think that it'll be GSP getting Diaz, taking him down, beating him up, getting stood back up, same again, rinse and repeat. And I think it'll be exciting to watch, and I think some of the exchanges will be really good, and you'll see a little bit of banter in the cage like we've seen before. But in the end, I think it'll be GSP. I bet you on some scorecards there'll be a 50-44 or a 50-43. I think that's how dominant it's going to be.
Yeah, I just think that Nick Diaz is, as much as I like the guy and as impressive as he looked, he's coming off of a huge layoff, and he really is overrated in the fact of competition. You look at George, like Jay had said, he's fought some of the best. Nick Diaz has been fighting a bunch of bums in Strikeforce. I'm sorry, Marius Zaromskis, KJ Noons, who's a natural lightweight, Scott Smith, Frank Shamrock, all these guys, until he came to the UFC, and he couldn't finish BJ, couldn't beat Carlos Condit, and his face gets messed up in every single fight against Condit and BJ. He had welts all over his face, and I think that George is coming in fresh, after that ring rust. He's now had a fight. He's probably going to feel comfortable again, and he's motivated. Diaz cuts real easily on his face, so I see this fight actually getting stopped by the ref or a ringside doctor due to cuts. I'm going to say in the later rounds.
First up, Paul Daly is the only. Paul Daly was a name you didn't mention. I don't think he's a bum, but nonetheless, Ray does bring up some good points. He's brought up some good points in the last few things, and he's told some great.
Who is Paul Daly about to fight? War Machine?
Yeah, War Machine.
He's definitely not a bum.
No, but he did do well against Koscheck. But moving on anyway, I have got GSP to win this fight. At the beginning of this week, I thought it would be a close fight. The more I think about it, GSP is just going to dominate. From the top position, he's going to land elbows. He doesn't have to posture up to do it. So there will be no chance of there will be no chance of a submission on the feet. Nick Diaz hasn't got the power to knock out or even really properly hurt GSP. GSP's just going to, if he feels threatened, he'll take him down. He's going to have a power advantage. Cardio isn't going to be an issue. We've never seen GSP gas in 25 minutes. I just think that this benefits GSP so much, this fight. He's fighting Nick Diaz when he's going to be at his worst. He hasn't fought in a year. He's coming off a loss. This is GSP's to win. I don't really see how Nick Diaz wins. Even think about that spinning back kick technique to the body against Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz has nothing to offer in terms of against kicks. It's going to be GSP all day. I'm rooting for Nick Diaz, but I just see GSP dominating him.
Really quickly, you said Daly looked all right against Koscheck. The only part of that fight he wasn't getting completely dominated was after the horn went off. You meant after the horn, right?
I'm going to have to check the statistics on this, so I'll be back in a minute.
I think he landed more punches after the horn than before the horn, but go ahead, whoever I interrupted.
And then he got dominated by Dan Migliotta.
That's true. That was a good one. Look, guys, I've got the word on the street about GSP versus Nick Diaz, all right? The judges, they've already tried to hand in their scorecards for a GSP decision win. It's all over. They've been in Montreal all week, just spending money at the casinos, doing cocaine and whatnot, allegedly. Look, guys, the fix is in. Nick Diaz will win the fight, but George St-Pierre will win the decision victory and retain the belt. Tough break for Nick Diaz, but he doesn't play the game. Maybe if he did, like Dana keeps trying to fucking tell him, maybe if he did, they would have maybe have given him the belt this time around, but it's not going to happen. It's going to, no matter what happens, if it goes to a decision, it's going to go in GSP's favor. So Nick Diaz's only chance is a knockout. Word on the street.
All right, and our last talking point before we send this out, something I want to ask, if George St-Pierre does win, assuming Johnny Hendricks also wins his fight against Carlos Condit, who do you put next for George St-Pierre? Do you have the super fight against Anderson Silva or Johnny Hendricks? I think Hendricks has done so much to deserve it. It's hard to deny him as much as I want to see the super fight. What do you guys think?
Is it me first?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to go first. I want to see GSP versus Hendricks. I really think that Hendricks deserves this. He should have already had this fight. I mean, I'm excited now for the GSP Diaz fight. Of course, all the build up, but somewhere in me, it devalues the division and the title a little bit by having this fight. I'd rather have seen the man who's earned the right to be number one contender. This fight should now be GSP Hendricks. So if GSP wins this and Hendricks wins this, the next fight should be GSP Hendricks. That's what I think.
Yeah, I have no desire to see George versus Anderson. I think Anderson is just too big, too good. I don't care about the age difference. I know that GSP physically could hang with him. I just think that the skill set it is not in favor for a win for George against Anderson. And I think that Hendricks has earned it, like we've all brought up so many times. We finally have a true contender who will probably make George look human. So I much prefer to see that.
I've done my cost-check research, first of all. Sorry to jump off topic. But yeah, Daly actually he managed to defend 33% of the takedowns, which is better than quite a lot of cost-check's opponents.
But he did get dominated like crazy.
Well, he landed a total of 11 strikes versus 18.
But he did get dominated like crazy.
How many takedowns have you defended against Josh Koscheck?
I've defended 182 takedowns against Josh Koscheck, but Josh has never, I can say I've never taken down Josh Koscheck, but Josh Koscheck has never savaged me as hard as he savaged Paul Daly. That was a one-sided fight if I've ever seen one. So one-sided that it made the uneducated, the fool Paul Daly want to sock him after the fight because he got so worked. Don't even give me any of that shit, Jay. Come on, son.
I know. Okay, I know we want to get back to topic, but I also want to say Dana White did say he's very impressed with the takedown defense of Paul Daly. I'm just saying. And now he's slipped off because he's in rubbish camp. But anyway, get back to the
Jay, as a British person, I'm sure you have amazing takedown defense.
I've got a decent guard. So, right, anyway, I think the question was Silva or Hendricks, isn't it?
I believe it is, yes.
Yeah, I think if Hendricks wins, then Hendricks. If not, GSP is probably going to fight. Maybe even Maya. That'd be interesting. Yeah, maybe Maya. Well, say Maya just to speed this up.
Damn, I haven't seen a better back and forth since the movie 8 Mile. Now, as far as GSP,
I love that film.
It was a good one. I'll probably watch it again tonight. If GSP wins, what's next for him? Well, he is going to win, but he should retire on Saturday night after it happens. Because really, the UFC in this division, they're running out of cans to throw at him. So his next fight is going to be a loss. Whether it's Anderson Silva, or Johnny Hendricks, GSP is fucked in his next fight, and he knows it. The UFC is this close. They know that, and he's just one fucking lunge away, one Superman punch away from exploding again. Game over. So they know the GSP well is drying up, so they're about to throw him off the fucking bus with an uppercut. So yeah, he better retire after he beats Nick Diaz, because this is the last fight that they're going to ever hand him. Word on the street.
I don't appreciate this performance of yours.
All right, well, I believe that is our last talking point. Unless anyone has anything else to add on UFC 158, I guess I'll put a bow on it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Everybody listening, you guys really keep us going. We love the positive feedback. Listen to this show, The Roundtable, every Thursday, 7 to 9 Eastern, 4 to 6 Pacific. Ray, you want to plug MMA Mental again real quick?
Yeah, check out our show this week. We've had some great guests on. The high-profile guest this week, or the bigger ones, we've spoke to Bjorn Rebney, Bellator CEO, and he gave us some great insight into. So he talked about the Fitch. I asked him about the super fight between Fitch and Askren if he'd like to see that, and he gave his take on that, which was brilliant. I'm going to be speaking to Ray Sefo also this week, as well as Brett Cooper, who of course has made the Bellator final after knocking out Dan Kramer and has come from behind victory, which was a great fight. So check us out. And also, Dana White just tweeted out a link for a petition to get MMA legalised in New York. It's amazing that it's not legalised in New York yet. So if anyone gets a chance, if you're on Twitter, click the link, sign it, and then retweet it. We need to get it legalised in New York.
Yes, we do. Ramses, what's the word on the street?
You gotta follow me on Twitter if you're tired of your life being just such shit, such absolute shit. I know it seems like nothing's ever gonna work out for you. You know, you keep striking out left and right. You've got no pussy source whatsoever. No confidence. You've never won a fight in your entire life. Well, guess what? If you want to start getting into fights and having sex, not at the same time, the girl, you got to follow me.
Chris Brown will do it at the same time.
That's what I'm talking about. If you want to get a girl that'll let you just swing away, you follow me on Twitter, the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter. That's the word on the street.
If you're looking to get violent with women, follow the Aunt Jimmy Show. Jay, you like to beat women. What's going on with the MMA Playground?
I don't know whether I like to beat women, but I've argued with everybody on this show. I mean, if you don't agree with anything I say, I mean, if you think that Josh Koscheck actually won that fight, if you thought that Hendo versus Machida was boring, I know these are things that people don't normally think, but if you feel like arguing it against me, or if you even think that Thiago Silva got rigged out of some mafia shit when his no contest was overturned by the promotion, I mean, if you want to argue with me, go to the MMAplayground.com forums, and if you want to try and beat any of us, I mean, Ray, myself, Jake, Patrick, Dave's on it. If you want to come to us and see if you can beat us on the playground, just make your picks, get fantasy wagering going. Just come to the playground and check it out. It's awesome if you love MMA.
It really is. The MMA Playground, best forum on the internet. Really fun fantasy game. Word on the street, best tough recap in the land. And if you haven't checked out the Danger Waffles report, you don't know what you're missing in your life. MMA Mental, you know, there's no one pulling as many interviews. I mean, literally, Ray is pulling more interviews than Ariel Helwani in the MMA Hour are. They're literally getting 10 interviews a show. It's ridiculous. And not just low-level people, guys like Bjorn Rebney. I mean, MMA Mental really might quite honestly be the best MMA interview show on the internet. And I'm not even, saying, trying to pump them up. They get all these interviews. Definitely check out MMA Mental. Word on the street, the tough recaps. You're obviously listening to the Roundtable already. The MMA podcast every Friday, 9 to 11. Thank you for tuning in. For myself, Ray, Jay, Ramses, and Chris, thanks again. Till next week, we gone.